Good evening, everyone. Before we start today's session, please feel free to do event check-in. This will give you access to additional resources and information about events that we are running on Reactor, which are around similar topics to today's session. I will share the QR code in the Q&A section shortly. Thank you all once again for joining us today. My name is Rashmita and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru, India. This session will run over the next 120 minutes, including Q&A. The session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Reactor YouTube channel within 3 to 4 days. I will share the link to our YouTube channel in the chat section soon. Quick word on a code of conduct. We display this at all Microsoft Reactor events that we run, and it's just a reminder to be aware of others. Key thing to take out here is to be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Also, please keep your mics muted during the session. I would now like to welcome Swami, our speaker for today's session. He's an aspirant software architect and currently works at Applied Information Sciences. He loves to learn about new technologies, but for now, I will hand over to Swami to begin the session. Over to you, Swami.
Thanks, Rashmita. Hey guys, thanks so much. Rashmita, I'm sharing my screen. Please do let me know. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Swami.
Okay, thank you so much. So guys, here is my repository, Vishipylor, and today's sessions code and the script, demo script, everything will be under this one, November 2016. So I'll just post it there so you can keep it handy. I'm just updating it. I will check in by tomorrow morning, but you can keep this there, this link, and in the same folder, you will have all those the previous episodes, whatever. If you're watching those recorded videos, so you can see this here. Okay. So what are we going to do today? Let's quickly go through that, and then we will start the discussion. Amen. It's purely the hands-on. There's no discussions. Little bit of discussion just to set the context before we jump in on any code. Okay. So it is the one we are discussing about Azure Functions purely from the hands-on perspective. And we use NodeJS. Majorly the focus is NodeJS. One application which is with C# and Blazor WASM. I'll see if we can squeeze in pretty quickly within 2.5 hours. I'll do it. If not, we can do it in my other series, which is AZ204 series. So some of these things I will discuss there also. We can you guys can join there. So what is we are planned? We will see that. I am still a learner, and if I do any mistakes, apologies for that. And the focus is more on a concept, and demos are kept simple. So what we are going to do is we will discuss about Azure Functions, and then we'll create Azure Functions using multiple methods. We'll create Azure Functions using C#. That's just an hello world, and majorly we'll focus on the Node.js. And then we'll create Azure Functions using different types of triggers. Okay, HTTP trigger and event triggers. I'm calling it as an event triggers, like a blob storage queue or a service bus queue. Different triggers are there. We'll see that, and timer trigger. So all those triggers we will cover it, and we'll also work with the bindings, input bindings as well as output bindings. I'm sorry, I have throat issue today. So other thing is we will work with Azure core Azure Functions core tools, and we'll also work on Visual Studio Code, and we'll see if I'm able to squeeze in pretty quickly. We'll see that C# with the Blazor WASM. Let's see that If not, I'll check in the code and I'll explain what it is. We'll see how quickly we are able to go through it. And also we will see the application insights also. I just want to quickly walk you through what is there. So I already created that. So if you come and see the application insights, here you can see the application map of last 1 hour. I'll make it to last 4 hours. So you can see we are going to create every one of this, guys. Just see that it's there, it's there. We will create it from scratch. I mean, this is the resource group. Right now it is a clean state, clean slate. We don't have anything here. Okay, we'll start our life from here and we'll go till here. Okay, if time permits, we'll go a little bit further, but I'm at least, what happened to my mouse? Okay, you can see this. Okay, let me navigate like this. How? What happened to this? Okay, you see that? We have one Azure function over here. That's the HTTP trigger one that goes and writes to the table, Azure table. And we have some other Azure functions which writes to the storage service bus queue, and then it writes to a blob and it writes to Azure table. And you have another Azure function, and that writes to the blob, and that writes to the table, and that writes to the Azure storage queue. So if you see that we are learning about Azure functions, we are learning about different types of triggers, and we are communicating with couple of mechanisms, queue mechanisms. One is the service bus queue, one is the storage queue, and also the Azure table, and also the blob. And there are other things which you can bind it, which we can go and see that. Okay, and if I come in here, why is this application insights pretty much an important? We will see that in a moment. So at this point of time, you can see that we don't have any incoming request. So nothing is there because I switched off all those things. I just want to show this. And let me come back over here. And guys, someone has unmuted themselves, please. Write to service bus queue. Let me enable this. Okay, so now let's come back here and let's see that. Write to service bus queue. Okay. What is this? What is the trigger? This an HTTP trigger. Okay, so HTTP trigger is as and when we go and write this one, it goes and drops a message to the queue. So we can come and see that immediately there is a request. So as and when I go and I pump in the records here, you can see that we can see that live metrics here, whatever the calls which are happening. See, the second call was success. We can see that second call over here. So I already have a timer triggered, so that will start triggering the messages. This is the timer trigger. So let me come and enable this. That's the timer trigger. So once we do this timer trigger, we can come back over here. I mean, this is, I'm just want to show the fully baked in product, whatever we have, so that, we can slowly come and understand how the things are working. We will recreate all those things. Okay, so we can discuss more once we develop this everything from scratch. Okay, it takes some time for this to come and refresh, and I just want to show this one piece, and then we'll go and start creating all these things on our own. Okay, so let me go and open the logs, and every 5 seconds this guy should go and write a log. I just want to see that. Okay, it has written the first log, so that means there will be a call. So you can see that every 5 seconds it bumps up. So every 5 seconds it drops in a message to the queue, and you are seeing that that's getting written. And once it writes to this queue, and we can do a quick refresh. It's not see that it has written quite a few, because I didn't enable the corresponding queue processor. And if I enable that queue processor, it will process. I just keep it, let it go as it is. And let's come back and let's start building all these things. So how are we going to take this exercise forward? So first we'll do a warm-up project, which will have a triggered function. And once we do that trigger, it goes and writes to the table. You can see that in a big picture diagram over here. Let me come in here. So we'll correlate what all the things which we are building. We'll go and build those step by step. And I'm coming in here. So this one, the 001. So once someone hits through the HTTP, it writes the entry in the log table. First, we'll develop this application. So that I'm calling it as mini project or a warm-up project. I'm calling it as a warm-up project. And once we do this warm-up project, we will focus on this Hello World project, where we are going to touch all the kinds of triggers, like a HTTP trigger or an event trigger, might be the Blob trigger or Q trigger, whatever it is. We'll see those. And then we'll use the timer trigger also. That's when we'll learn what kind of consumption plan we should take for timer trigger, what kind of consumption plan we should take it for rest of the triggers. And then in the third exercise, what we are going to do, what this guy will do is it drops a message to the service bus queue just to show the different varieties, as well as it writes into the Azure Blob storage, and also it writes into the Azure table storage. That's our second project. I'm calling it as a Hello World project. The third one is mini project, that is GitHub change tracker. So that means if anyone comes here, I mean, whatever the project which we want, we can go and add a switch on the GitHub change tracker. I did it to one of my project. So here I have enabled this webhook, created a Azure function, HTTP function, and if someone modifies this repository, maybe they have added the things or modified or deleted, whatever they do, immediately the GitHub will send me a hook to the hook. It sends this information, hey, what is a payload? Who is the author, what is his email ID, and also what got changed. So one file got added, 0 got removed, 0 got modified. So we can work on this one. So this is, I'm calling it as a mini project. So which we can come and see that once it comes and hits it, it goes and talks to the Azure function. And from that Azure functions, it comes to this table. And here are this GitHub code change tracker. So this is our exercise for next 2 hours. So we have a lot of things to do. So let us fasten the seat belt and get going. And if time permits, after 2 hours and we still have energy to go ahead, we will create a API and we can do this one also. UI, I have the code, I'll check in. If not, we'll discuss on some other day. Without wasting any further time, let's start this one. So the first thing is I already opened up this. Uh, I I generally don't prepare slides. I use the code or the documentation directly from the site. Let me have a glass of water. So that's good. Thanks. So Azure Function is a serverless solution. We just need to write a very small lines of code. We'll see that how many lines of code shortly and other advantages. That is the reason I wantedly left these things to run. If you see that in the queues, by the time we complete, there'll be huge number of messages in these queues. And we'll see that how quickly these all messages will get processed. Let it go till thousands. I wantedly kept it there. So that's one of the advantages. And the scenario for what use cases I can use this Azure Functions. I want to build some web API with some HTTP trigger or process a files which got uploaded to the Blob storage or build serverless chaining of functions. Like one function does some computation and drops a message and another function picks up this message and does the computation. Like function A picks up the file and does some computation and stores this information in a blob storage and then drops a small, very small, less than a K information saying that, hey, this is the final product which I processed it and stored it in this blob. Here is the URL, blob URL and other information. Now function B picks up this messages from the storage queue and goes and picks up the blob from the storage and does the job. We are not sending the entire content from one function to other function. What we are doing is we process that and store it somewhere in a persistent storage like blob or in some other queue or whatever. Queue is not at all not at all a suggested one, because if at all there are 1,000 records or 20,000 records, it doesn't make sense to put all those things in queue. Put it somewhere in the database or temporary location blob or other mechanisms, and then just give the message saying that, hey, here is the records on which you need to process and give those details, and scheduled items and change trackers like you see the document DB, someone added a record or updated, modified, those kind of things, and also reliable queuing message that we are going to see now. And for SignalR and IoT, I didn't do that, but we will see in future episodes. And that is definitely in my AZ204 series one. Okay, so let's see that. Let's see that. What is the first one we have to create? Okay, that's one thing. And another thing is hosting plans. So we need to understand that what is the hosting plan which we have. So we have few hosting plans. One is the consumption hosting plan. This is a hosting plan which is known as serverless. That means if you have a code to be executed to process a message, and if there are 100 messages which are coming in, so the scalability will be the issue. So if it is scaling for if you take an app service or something and that has got auto scale and you can scale it, but if it is thousands of messages which are getting pumped in, how do you scale at large? So using this consumption plan, it scales automatically, dynamically. See this, the consumption plan, the instances of the function are getting added and removed based on the number of incoming events. I'm not telling that if there are 20,000 events, Azure Functions will span 20,000 instances. I'm not sure, but it takes care of this dynamic scaling to process those incoming messages. Or something known as the premium plan, you can go ahead and see that it's when you need most of the computing power. Okay, and pre-warmed instances. What does the pre-warmed instances is? You know, the Azure app service, we call it as a cold mode and the warm mode. The cold mode is when there are no requests, the application or the app service will go in cold mode. So next, after 1 hour, let's assume if someone hits that, the first request guy will take some 10 to 15 seconds time. So that's the one which it takes little bit of time. So that's when you use a premium one, always those workers are kept warm. That means you will not take the hit of lag or latency in the first hit. So dedicated plans is what where you can have your own app service. So you can host it in as part of the containers also. There are a lot of other mechanisms, but what I feel is like a consumption, premium plan, dedicated plan, app service, and Kubernetes, Arc. So these are other plans, and you can see that what features do we have if you go with this consumption plan. So Linux and Linux Docker container is not available. Like if you have premium, dedicated, and app service environment, you have these things. And if it is Kubernetes directly, it is the Linux Docker containers. Okay, that's about hosting plan. And what else? This we discussed. Okay, triggers. So the trigger is what which uh, which ignites or starts the function execution. So trigger kinds of triggers we can go ahead and see concepts. So you can see about the triggers and bindings. So anything happen on the back end or HTTP trigger. So based on that triggers, the function will get invoked. So the triggers can be like a HTTP trigger. That means you can use it like an webhook or like an API. And some of those triggers are timer trigger. That means every n number of seconds or n number of minutes or n number of hours you want to do something, you can use the timer trigger. And there are other kinds of triggers, Q trigger, Blob trigger, and different types of triggers are there. And here bindings. So bindings is what a declarative way to mention that you want to do some action. I want to write a record into a function, or I want to read a record from a blob storage. I want to drop a message to the queue. And if someone drops a message to the queue, I want that queue data so that I can process it further. So you're not writing any code. You're not writing connect to this particular storage and open the connection. I will save it. I will update it. I'm not doing any programmatically. I'm doing it declaratively. I'm saying that, hey, connect me to this storage. Connect me to this service bus queue. Everything is taken off the plate. All we need to do is simple connect it. And you know, no need to buy ad. Everything is given there right in front of us in the Azure portal. Okay, I was a little worried to see this kind of functionalities we are getting it. So we don't need to do anything. All we have to do is click, 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 and it works. I didn't do any coding, but things are working. It's making me scared. And monitoring the Azure functions is pretty much a very, very important thing because for multiple reasons. If you want to understand that what is happening, you can understand the map. What is this Azure function? This Azure function is communicating with what other Azure resources. And if you see in our case, we saw that in this Azure functions, when I was doing experiment, I forgot something, and there were a lot of errors which got thrown on that. And it shows that. It helps us investigate. I can come in here in the failures and I can track that which function was failing. So all these functions were failing. I can go to particular function and dig deeper to find out what happened, why did it fail. I have a full record why it is failing. So we definitely need that monitoring of the system. Okay, and a lot of other things are there. Function proxies are there. Custom handlers uh, for the languages which is not yet supported on board. A lot of other things are there. At least let's get going with our hands-on session. So that's maximum I can speak on that. This one, environments, you can use Azure Portal, you can use Visual Studio 2019, Visual Studio 2020, Azure Function Core Tools, VS Code. So inside this VS Code, we have a beautiful functions. You can have these functions. You can create a function project from here, and you can add a function. You can go ahead and deploy a function, and you can do all those things. And also you can deploy it from local project. So you can create everything from here. This is the tool. And what other additional things we have is we have security, we have identity, identity features, and identity and function chaining and durable functions. Durable functions is not we have planned, but at least we do the function chaining. And identity provider integration, I did it in a previous session, but that we are not going to cover here. But let's start with this. So the first thing what did we do is we have created a application insights. At this point of time, we are not pumping in the data because this is we didn't hook any of those things to this one. We don't have anything, and we have created a Azure function storage account. Just wanted to save some time. So we don't have anything in the containers. We don't have anything in the Azure file, and nothing in queues, nothing in storage. So we don't have anything here. Why did this? Okay, so we have this over here. So let me go ahead and see that what is that storage account. This is the one. Okay, storage for AZ functions. So whatever the names I'm creating, I use this document. So please always use this document, guys. So this gives the naming convention or abbreviations which you should use for all the resources. Everything is there, and also defining your naming convention. So they say that resource type and the workload or application environment, Azure region, and instance. So one of the naming convention, they're saying that VNet, and the workload is the environment is production, and this is from the West US, and this is the 001 instance. So they're giving the naming convention. So if we all use the naming convention, like if you have the resource type, we have seen that the abbreviations, we can go ahead to the abbreviations, get it here, and then the business unit, then the application, and then the subscription type, prod or dev or QA, and environment, and the subscription and region. Yeah, I mean, it all depends what goes in within the team. Please choose that, whichever is applicable. So we already have that opened in our storage explorer. Right now we can go and see that there are nothing in this table except those things which are coming by default, nothing in queue, nothing in file share, nothing in the blob containers. That's it. Cool. So as we were mentioning, we'll do all these things. Let's start creating the hello world, and then we'll go ahead. Okay, so let me come back over here. We are starting our task. So I'm calling it as Azure Functions over here. Okay, I'm calling it as hello world C sharp. Okay, that's for the hello world C sharp. So I can select the runtime stack. So you can use .NET 3 or .NET 6. So let's use the .NET 6, and then we'll create this one. And hosting is where you can change it. But this is what all the storage I'm pushing it here. So we'll see that why do we need storage in a minute. And the consumption plan is, the plan type is consumption, function premium, or app service. App service is you have a fixed compute, which we will definitely create in a half an hour or something like that. But the consumption plan is a pure serverless plan. Okay, we'll see that why are we telling that it's a consumption plan. And rest of the functions I'm keeping it as it is. And let's go to the monitor. because I already created the application insights. I want to route all the logs to the same application insights. We can have a tag. And one good thing is once you are here, you can click on this download template. So you can add it to the library or you can download. So, but one thing what you have to observe is if you go ahead and see the parameters, these parameters will be there, but these will not get saved if you try to save, if you save it. Okay, so please ensure that if you are saving it as part of the library, please download this template and parameters in a separate files and keep it in your source code repository, but ensure that you are nuking your subscription IDs. Okay, if not that you are giving the keys of the kingdoms to others. So just ensure that you are nuking of any of those secrets and save it. So we are creating our first Hello World. Hello World. It's not even warm up project. We said that 4 projects. This is not even warm up projects, like a net practice kind of thing. Well, we are seeing that what's happening. Just we will try understand the things now. Okay, that's one thing which is getting cooked. While that is happening, let's go ahead and I want some extra space. Let's create another function. I'll take up that. Please hold on. Let's do 1 hour and then we'll take up the queries, or else at least we'll do some logical step and I'll come back to your queries. Huh? This one, and what was the function app name which we have given? Forgot that. What was the name of the function app I've given? Oh, it's at CS, isn't it? I told something related to CS. Okay, Hello World CS. That's the name I've given. Okay, let's go ahead from this. Yeah, I'll stop for you. I don't know where is that. I'll definitely stop for you. Hello World Node.js. Okay, and V1. Okay, so the runtime stack I'm taking Node.js, and it is 14 LST and East US. Again, in the hosting, the storage account, I'll use the same storage account, and this is Windows. Consumption plan is serverless, and I go ahead and do the monitoring. And again, I want to route everything to the same application insights. I don't know, did I select the same one or not? Let's check that. So we just created 2. This one, let's go to select the application insights, and yeah, I didn't select the proper one because we have to route it to this guy, because this is the one which we are routing. So this is the one I created for this. Okay, that it is doing, and let's check that. Then we have a lot of things to investigate. Okay, that is deployed. Let's check that. Right, it got deployed. Right, all the things. Let's take an extra space and let's start with this Node.js first. So if I come to this Node.js, I can come into functions, and here it's here it will have our functions. So a function app is set of functions, set of 1 or more functions. So we will create our first Azure function, and here it asks, do you want to develop in portal or do you want to develop in VS Code or anywhere. So first we will select, here it shows that template. So either you want to go ahead with the HTTP trigger or timer trigger, or Azure Queue Storage, Service Bus topic, Azure Blob Storage, Event Hub, Cosmos DB, IoT, SendGrid. There are a lot of lists going on, Kafka, RabbitMQ, SignalR. Okay, and you can come and modify the name here. I'm not doing for this net practice things, whatever we are doing at this point of time. Let's go ahead and quickly start creating this. So it comes here, so you can see it gives us a beautiful code and test where we can come and test our Azure function. And just to save time, I will create a duplicate thing of this one so that we can see that. So here we can come and click on run, test it here. Instead of testing it from Postman, you can straight away test from here. So you can see this logs, or else if you want to test it from Postman, you can get the function URL. You can come to your Postman tool, and because that works with the get and post method. So if I send this, it expects the name. So either I can send a name like that, or I can do a post call and send the body from here in application JSON. I send the parameters like this, and it says that hello no name. So either you have the test built in here in the portal where you want to do a quick POC to understand and showcase this to your managers or architects, you can use this one. And what is this integration? We see in the warm-up match, but at this point of time, I'm not doing anything. And the next thing is monitor. We'll see monitor what it shows. It tracks all the logs, how many times this function was hit, and what happened on that particular execution. You will get a decent amount of logs from here. So that's the first net practice. Now let's come to the hello world of this. I have created this hello world C#. Let's come in here and let's create. I guess I'll take up the question. First, I'll complete this because I have a lot of things I have planned. I'll sure shot I'll take the questions. If I'm not able to answer, I'll definitely get back to you in any channels, Twitter or through the meetup group channel. Any channel, I'm definitely going to come. So the same thing in C#, we have that code, which is CSX. And apart from that, the function JSON, we will discuss what this function JSON is there. And we can quickly click on the execution. It executes. That's all pretty good. Now the first step, so this is where we are starting our investigation and doing a deep dive. Now we did this, we hosted application and we tested it, and we saw what is monitor. At least we just covered these two steps, but we didn't touch anything. Now let's start our probe. So let's come to the file share and I do a refresh. So when I do a file share, we saw that previously there was nothing in this file share. Now we are seeing this two of those Azure functions, whatever we created over here, those corresponding entries we are seeing in the file share. We checked it. There was nothing in the blob storage. There was nothing in the table except those log tables, and there was nothing in this queue. We did that verification before starting our journey. Now we see that there are two things. Okay, the first one is the C corresponding for the C#, and the next one is for the Node.js. You see that if you go to this one, you see there is a lot of things. You have data, you have log files, you have the Kudu application event log, and you have site, which is getting hosted. You got a deployment, diagnostics, logs, and site. Hey, you have got the HTTP trigger too. You got index JSON, function JSON, and the host JSON. So the entire stuff, whatever we saw over here, is available somewhere. So that means they are hosting it on some physical server. We don't know where, but we will probe it in a minute. But somewhere this is getting hosted. right? Now if I come back over here, you see that again, you see the entire similar stuff, and I can come to www root, and you see that host.json, and you see that function.json and run.csx. That means whatever the function, even though we are calling it as a serverless, that is being hosted on some server. And someone can say that, Swami, how can you tell that it is hosted in some server? You can come to the console and type host name. So it displays the name. That means maybe it is a container or a virtual machine, I don't know. But there is some hardware which is behind this, and they have a server. On that server, they are hosting it. So let's go back to the C# one. So let's go back to the C# function, and let's go to the console and host name. And that's a separate name, if I'm not wrong. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. Can someone remember it is 10, 30, 15, 29, 10, 13, 15, 29, 10, 13, 15, 29. Okay, 10, 30, 559. That means this has been hosted in two different servers. It could be containers, virtual machines, whatever it is. But there is a host name. If I type host name in my command line on here, if I say host now host name, it says it displays my machine name. So that means here it is displaying the machine name. That means some virtual hardware is there. And another thing what we have to concentrate is on the app service plan. So let's open what is this. That's for the Node.js. So just to save the time, let's go back into that reactor. And this was for the Node.js, right? That is for the Node.js. So let's go ahead and open the C# one. And we went into the app service plans, and here you can see the properties. So here it says that what is the consumption tier, and how many apps has been hosted within this uh, app service plan, and it gives rest of the information, operating system. And you can see this, the consumption plan is Y1. So that it's called as a dynamic plan. The consumption plan is Y1. That's a dynamic plan. So let's come back over here and look into this app service plan. This guy gives this information, and you can go to this properties they give, and number of apps which is using this app service plan will be given here. And also we can come back here and go to the configuration. So once you go to this configuration, let's do the same thing for this guy also. Let's come back over here and do the configuration. So once we go and check this configuration, you can come to the function runtime settings. So it is using 4, and this guy is using 4. So the previous, before that, you can use 3 or 4. Now that we are using .NET 6, in the documentation it is clearly given when you're using runtime as .NET 6, please use the 4. The function runtime should be 4. That's another tip. So we understood few things. We did the net practice kind of two simple hello world Azure functions, net practice Azure functions, and we understood that to create a Azure function, it needs an Azure function app, and it needs a storage account, and it needs set of Azure functions, and it needs the application insights. So if you don't have the application insights, you will not be able to probe. That means if I come in here, if I go to monitor, will not be able to do anything over here. Will not at all be able to do anything. It will not give this one. Okay, and you can get the streaming logs, whatever you see there, we see it here also. So in the code and test block, we have the files, the Node.js, JSON or CS files. And apart from that, you have the test environment. Sometimes when you do modifications, it will not take, you need to do refresh. That's a different story. But to test it from your browser, we can go and get the Azure function. So this we did net practice. Now let's start with the Hello World or the initial warm-up project now. So I'm copying this. What is happening? God. Okay, let's copy this and start creating this. So I'm just going to create another Azure function, and this Azure function name I'm giving it this one. Okay, it's already taken. I'll make it 2. 2 is already there. So I call it as P01. Okay, prod 01. And runtime stack, I want to take it like a Node.js and LST14 long-term support and East US. This is for our warm-up project. So, and the storage account, I'm using the same storage account. I want to push it to the single place. Let me stick to the consumption plan. And that networking I'm leaving. The monitoring thing, I am pushing it to the same application insights. So let's go ahead and create that. Okay, let it create. In the meanwhile, let's keep one sheet where we can let's keep this application insights. You can check that there are this one. I think going through the dashboard is easy for me. This one, right. I'll keep this at one place so that at least we can start seeing what is happening. So we just tested with this Hello World C# and Node.js. It didn't speak to any other components. So our application map shows that whatever the Azure functions which we created, it didn't speak to anyone else. So now we will go a little bit further. Okay, we'll go a little bit further. We have deployed this Azure function. So we are calling it as warm-up project. So let's go ahead and start here in this warm-up project. So given the details there, we can come to this and we can start creating this Hello World warm-up project. So we have taken something. Let's take the name as this. I'm going to create an Azure function. And now we'll go do a lot of deep dives here. Someone with name SP, you had queries. Couple of queries were there. Please hold on. We'll complete this and I'll stop. We'll take up some queries before we go to do the Hello World project. That's a little bit of binding and other things, but let's stop after this warm-up project. So here is our this thing, and this application insights, isn't it? I'll close this. We'll make room for other things. So this is our Azure Functions function app, and we have one Azure function. And what we will do is there are multiple ways to handle this. So if you want to know what files are available, you can click on App Service Editor and click on Go. And if you are a console guy, here use your friend, Advanced Tools, click on this, Go. And if you're a console guy and little lazy to do an extra click, you're here. So Microsoft has covered all 3 people in the same menu option. So I can do a DAR or LS. It supports? It does. Okay, so we are getting those ls-l. Okay, so it gives that it is a directory and this is a file. And if I go cd ArrayOperations and I do ls, it shows those function. I do cd dot dot. you can use this console if you want to do quick investigations. And if you are a visual guy, you can come in here. You can see that what is host JSON, what is this index.json, and what is this function JSON. You can come and you can play around this one. And this is the most powerful guy is the Kudu console. So you can come in here, you can go to the site root, and here you can click on that host JSON. You got that host JSON, and you can get into this array operations. You can see that what is there in this index JSON and what is there in function JSON. Okay. So another important thing which I want to give is log files. So anytime you face any problem, you come and click on this event log. This event log is equivalent to event viewer, whatever we have it on our local machine. This event log is equivalent to this. So anytime you face any problem, this is your guy to go and check that. And there are other logs that depends upon what kind of logs you're doing, the logging mechanism. But anyways, make a note of that event log. That's our good friend. And another some data protection keys and data what functions are, something is already there. You can go, and this is the site where we are hosting it. And you have the deployments, diagnostic logs, and root is our guy. And we are here. Let's go in here. So now imagine a scenario. I want to do something else apart from the hello world. So what I want to do is I want to do npm init init -y. So it creates the package JSON and defaults it with the values. Okay, cool. It does create that. I can come in and check in this. It just created it. And apart from that, I just want to play around with the Lodash, that NuGet package. So I come in here and paste that. So it is installing that. So how do you know that it is installing? You can go back. I mean, you can stay there. I didn't have patience. I went back. So under the node modules, if you come, it says the dot staging. That means it is working on. It is pulling all those friends and family files. It takes some time, but that's what it is doing right now. So once it brings that, you will see that package JSON will get updated. Okay. So let's wait. Let's give it a minute. So the package JSON will get updated, and all the corresponding changes you will see here are uh, are here in this file. Yeah. You see that? You got cat package JSON. Ow. So you can see that it added the dependency of the load dash. So that means everything is up and running. So that load dash is there. If you get into this module, so you see that load dash is properly there. So that's good. So now we can come back to our functions guy, and you can play around with this editor also. It's your preference. You want to play around this one or play there, wherever we want. Okay. So I have already given this code, and I will check in the other code also, whatever we are doing now into the Git repository, so that you will have everything in one place. You don't need to go at multiple places. I copy paste this entire, and this I didn't do anything much except that I added one here and added my name, which is not needed, but just added it. So that's one thing. And index.json is a little bit of coding. We'll see that. We'll paste it here and we'll discuss about this one. So what are we doing in this index.json is we are expecting two parameters. One is inside the body, the post method. We are saying that I'm expecting name and digits, and we are using the Lodash. And if both anyone is missing, we will come to the else block. If both has been given, we go to the if block. And then we are doing a for loop using this digits array, and we are writing a log saying that I'm returning the output. And this is a table binding, which is I am commenting it at this point of time. And also I will comment it here. Okay, so just if you see that it is a very simple Azure function. So what this Azure function is doing is Azure function is expecting two parameters, and it uses the load dash to display that output. It's not doing anything else. It's a very simple Azure function. Let's go ahead and see that. So it loads this load dash and expects input, and we are doing a for loop and traversing through this digits, and then when both the inputs has been given, we are saying that we are success, execution is success, and we are saying that where it got executed and what is the time it got executed, and we are doing the reverse of the data as well as we are doing partition. Okay, reverse and partition I'm using from the load dash library, and if any one of the input is not there, I'm returning 400 and I'm saying this is false. So now coming back to this, we are saying that process.env computer. So what does that mean? So if you do this process.env and inside this process.env, you can go and check the computer name that gives the name of the machine, the host name. So when we use this process.env computer name, and when you execute this, that is giving the name of the computer. That means even though it is a serverless, behind the scenes definitely there is some infrastructure, and that infrastructure has been abstracted and someone else is taking care. The Microsoft and the team is taking care of that, but we are enjoying the benefit, spanning this to multiple things and everything. We will see that benefit in a moment. Okay, that means it gives this one. So if I come back and pass the digits from here, if I execute this, so it executes and it gives this. It says that hello Azure, welcome so and so. Executed at this, executed at 13:31. That's a GST time, and reverse data and the partition. It is splitting this. We are getting all these information. APIs. That's pretty good. Now what else we want to do? We want to do something else also. So let me do the duplicate. I'll keep that pretty much handy, so it will be easy for us to go ahead and see. Just give me a minute. Dashboard. Text space. This is our Azure function. It will be easy for us to see the naming and all those things, the connection string, what names I have given. So what we can do is we can come to that output here, and before going there, so simple question: how many triggers can we have for an Azure function? So if you observe this inputs and outputs, we have a plus symbol, and for triggers we doesn't have a plus symbol. So obviously it shows that there is one trigger for one Azure function. So Azure function app can have set of Azure functions, but a Azure function can have one trigger. And how many inputs an Azure function can have? A number of. You can click on this inputs over here, add input, and you can start adding this. At this point of time, what is this Azure function doing? When we hit it through the Postman or through the HTTP, because it's an HTTP trigger, it is spitting the content onto the console. So now we'll start adding, we slowly progressing forward. So what we want to do, we want to add it to the table storage. See how many lines of code we are writing. We do that, and what is the table name? That's where I need to come back to find out. That's output table. He has already given the table name, and oh, I can stay here and get it. Why didn't I do that? I can check it from here. Yeah, this one, array ops table. That's the name I've given. I just want to be that's the one name I've given, the apps table. So those are the two things which we will do. We are not going to write any line of code. So we just do a binding. Declaratively, we are telling that, hey, I want the connection to this particular storage account, to this particular resource table, and the table name is this. That's it. That's the only thing we are doing. We're not doing anything else. So now we come back to this one, and we'll uncomment the code which we wrote it. And here we'll come back, and this one I uncomment. The shortcut is control and forward slash. So that's a toggle switch on off. Okay, it works in Visual Studio Code as well as in all the Microsoft tools. I have seen that. Okay, control arrow key, control arrow. That's one. So what are we doing here is we are saying that the binding, we have seen that in the integration, output table name was a binding, and inside that what we have to do is just a push and partition key, row key, and I'm writing the status whether it was 200 or 400 and what is the response body we are writing. So you can ask Swami, how do you know that I need to do like this? I didn't do anything else. I just came here straight and I went to table storage and output binding. Just click on that and everything is there. Only we need to have intelligence to copy paste. That's it. Everything is taken care of by Microsoft. He has given that what we should do, and they have given the syntax also, the context table binding push, the partition key, row key, those two things should be unique, and other properties whatever you have. So just I copy pasted that from there to here in this. So what we are doing? We are doing a partition key is a name, because whatever the name you are sending, we'll do it on that. And row key is this GUID. So this GUID is also a straight lift from Stack Overflow. When I was searching for how to create a GUID, I like this got more number of hits and 50 plus points. I felt that this is a rock solid logic. I just did a straight lift from that. So that we are having the row key, this is a partition key, and we are sending the status of this context response status and the body. Okay, at this point of time, before we doing abracadabra, let's come and check whether the table has got anything. So at this point of time, right mouse click on that and do a refresh. We still have only those tables. And again, we'll come and do a refresh. And here we are seeing that we have this and also the Azure function which we have created right now. And you can get into this and root, and you see that array operations, and you see that package JSON, package lock, everything is there. But this is the keys of the kingdom, folks. And please ensure that when you're speaking with someone, please do not touch that. If anything goes wrong, you might not be able to reach your Azure functions. That might become an unreachable. Okay. So just I'm giving a little extra knowledge, or we are doing deep dive so that in case you face any problems, you know where to go and hunt it down. So at this point of time, we don't have any tables. Before we do hit, let's do one round of verification and do cross the fingers, and let's do a testing from the postman. I want to send digitex. That means status code 400. Because this is what I told, the cold mode. Now see this, first time it took longer time, now I hit it. It might not take that much time. If it is taking, that's something which we need to look at, but it should be definitely faster than that. So now let's come back and do a refresh here. Once we do refresh, you see that array operations table, there are 2 hits, both are 400. So now that I come back to the input and I do digits, I pass digits and I click on this one. So there were 2 400s status, now the status 200, and you can come in, refresh this table, you see that that's 200. So we are passing in the entire message. You can see that, you can double click on that and see edit on this, you see that entire message. And in case of status code 400, what information we are sending in. Okay, so if you see that this is like a mini project, I mean in real-time project also this is what we do. We'll write some Azure function, that Azure function will go and hit some resources, maybe the table or a storage or something else. So at this point of time it is here. I think it might take some time to show that it is right now. See that right in front of our eyes, it has updated it. Now we understand that, okay, this Azure function speaks to the storage account. Okay, and if something is not working, we definitely know that where all things we need to go and hunt it down. Okay, so I'll take a couple of questions, or we can have a quick chat before we go further. One was Koteshwar Rao, one Shreya Bhatt. Okay, Shreya, you can unmute and you can speak. The question was pretty generic, so I just wanted to understand what else you have in your mind.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for the permission. So actually, I wanted to ask, like you mentioned about the API keys being displayed on or link hosted on, like when we upload the code on GitHub. So our API keys will usually be publicly available, right? So how exactly you just mentioned we are going to nuke the API keys. So exactly how are we going to do that, sir?
Oh, that I didn't show. That is yet to come. Yet to come. But that was a good question because no, all questions are good questions. Please feel free. If you ask any question, if I don't know, then it is for me to go back and study. So this is where we can renew our keys. Okay. In this, we discussed only these 3 blocks. Okay. That was forthcoming movie. You asked about it now. Anything else, Shreya?
Okay. Nothing, sir.
Okay, thanks so much. You
Yeah,
can
thank you,
call
sir.
me Swami. Koteshwar Rao.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Koteshwar Rao.
Oh, Koteshwar.
Hello, sir. This is Pankaj.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah. Go ahead.
sir.
Go ahead. Go
This
ahead,
is
Pankaj.
Pankaj.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Pankaj.
Sir, can you just
You can call
give a
me
quick
Swami.
review? Okay, Swami, sir, can you give a quick review from the making an Azure function, then creating account and HD inside for a quick review? Or how do we start from it?
Which one? Creating of Azure account?
Azure from the Azure function. Yeah.
Oh, that we will do. That's what we did it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We created empty Azure function. But again, I'll show you. We will create 2 more. Okay. We will create 2
Okay.
more Azure
Okay.
functions, and that Azure function is a big Azure function. It will take 30 to 40
Uh,
minutes to create that. Okay, everything will from scratch, because all my sessions, I'll ensure that it's like pani kam doodh zyada chai. So no slides, only code. For some reason, I
okay.
like
Okay.
that. Okay, chalo.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Pankaj.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Thank you,
Siddiq,
sir.
no problem. Siddiq, anything from you?
Hey Swami, so my
Hmm.
query is assume the Azure function, it's like fire and forget Azure functions as
Hmm.
the discussion, right? So if I
Hmm.
want to call an API, so if that API having the SAML or the JWT,
Hmm.
we ask that one.
So let me understand that. Okay. So because I don't want to give any answer just like that you asked, and I told something and I dust off my hands saying that hey, done. So I just want to understand that you're telling that you have an Azure function,
Yeah,
right? We call it as AZ Func. And now where does the API lives? Which
API is
side of?
Same
Behind,
tenant, different
is it the one layer after Azure Function or before?
within the same subscription.
Yes, within the same subscription. 1 second. I think I didn't communicate properly. I'll show you. See that? Is the Azure function hitting the API or API hitting the Azure function? Who is hitting whom?
Azure function hitting the API.
That's what I want. So that means now the API lives in a layer outside. That's an API.
Yes.
That's an API, right? So there is a boundary between A and B. So another boundary is some other app or client who sits in front of this guy, who sits in front of this guy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now you are asking about this. So here somewhere you will have an Azure function. I mean the UI. So the UI will not directly come and hit the Azure function because Azure function will have the function keys. I mean the authentication. So the authentication can be like a function key or anonymous, or it could be the master key. But that depends what goes out of your Azure function. Is it publicly available information? We don't need any authentication. We can make it anonymous. If it is function, that means that is keys of the kingdom. The function, if you see that that's default, or it comes with the default is function key, or the master is the master key. So we set it up the authentication at the function key level. So who else can call this function? I can't post this to the entire world or the UI. If I post to the UI, anytime UI calling this, it has to give this function key. That means if I put a packet sniffer, I'll get this information, what is the function key. So definitely what you do is you go and get the token, auth token from somewhere, and you have a layer API gateway, and you will hit this API gateway. So to that API gateway, you will pass the authentication token. So from that authentication token, once this authentication token has been validated by the API management, this API management will strip off the authentication from this client, and then it will add it and send this request to the Azure function. And Azure function, again, it can pass that authentication token, whatever it gets it from the client, further down the lane. So that means what I'm telling is, whatever this guy is sending, you will send that information to the API gateway. There will be one layer in between. So he gets the authentication from the STS partner service security token or AD, SAML, whatever the token it is. He gets the token, he passes to the API management. API management validates this is a legitimate user. It strips off that, passes to the Azure function. This guy passes to the API. Did I answer your query, Siddiq?
Yes, Swami.
Cool, thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Param,
yeah, sir. Kodeshwara here.
Koteshwar Rao, please tell me. You can call
Eh,
me Swami.
Swami, yeah, Swami.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thing is, see, just now I created the Azure free subscription.
Mm.
So in function app, I want to create the one function, but it is not showing the develop in portal drop. It is showing other three, but it is not showing develop in portal option. May I know
Okay.
what is?
We'll take it up at 8:30. Something I need to see your screen share.
Acha. Sure, sure.
Okay, we'll
At this,
do that.
yeah, same thing also in Visual Studio. I am not able to see the Cloud Explorer as well.
Okay,
Actually,
I'll assist you.
yeah, I'm able to publish that trigger function, but not able to see the Cloud Explorer as well. Okay, we'll see after 8:30. No, sure.
No
Thank you.
problem. So if
Okay.
I will take the pulse of the team members who are here right now. If you guys want a workshop kind of thing, 4 hours, where I will do step by step and you guys replicate it step by step. And before that, the prerequisites should be everyone should have the Azure credits. So if we can vote, and then we'll request Rashmita to cut an workshop so that we can go ahead select only 10 or 15 people so that we can do a focus workshop. 10 people, you do 4 hours of hands-on and get all these Azure function off the doors, right?
Okay, sure,
Cool.
Swami. Thank you.
Paramjot, say I will do a one round. I'll call out at 8:30. Let's do vote. How many people? Or you guys can do vote. Uh, vote now itself. Rashmita will collect it and we'll speak to Rashmita when can we organize a 4 hours workshop based on our schedules. Okay. Everyone can go and put it in the chat. Paramjot, go ahead. Paramjot, do you have anything? Paramjot, you're on. Yeah, who's that? Debo.
Yeah, hi Swami. Can you just show the integration part once more, like where you created that output, and if you can brief on the bindings also, input and output bindings.
Mm. Yeah, that we are going to do now. Now
Yeah.
there is a bigger. Now the next exercise, which is a 40 minutes, is a bigger exercise. There we will start. We will do all three kinds of triggers. So we have a lot of things to do. Shall we take a quick 2 minutes bio break?
Mhm.
What is the main intention of having a single Azure function? Okay, Arivu, is that you?
Yeah, Swami. Yeah, Aribu
Arivagan.
here.
Okay. Arivagan. I'll answer that question. Let me take a quick guy. 1 minute. You guys also have a glass of water, tea, or something. Grab and come back to desk in quick 1 minute. Back. Okay. Sorry. Okay, just need to know any future sessions for cloud beginners. Okay, we'll definitely have Paramjot. And as I was mentioning, the AZ204 series, it's purely starting from fundamentals, but we'll definitely do something else also. Okay. So I'm back. I hope everyone is back to your desks. Let's start. So the next section for 30-40 minutes will be purely double action episode. So let's focus. It's full of triggers and integration. So let's do step by step. So let me come back over here so that so see this. So we need a service bus queue for this one. So let's go and create the service bus queue. Yeah, recording will be available. Lashmita will ping once the recording gets uploaded. So we're creating another Azure function app. The SPI, NodeJS, ETS. And please focus whatever we are doing because we will repeat this for 2 more times. Windows, it's a serverless. We have an Azure function app. We have a storage. And monitoring is pretty critical. We have seen that when the advantage, it gets you the entire big picture, who is talking with whom. And review and create. And create. That's cool. So let it create it. And now we need service bus. So let's go ahead and how. So let's create the service bus. And what is the name I've given to this service bus over here? SB for messages. That is defined here in your Azure naming conventions, whatever we have seen that. So let's stick to the game plan. I'm calling it as V1. OK, service. I want to go ahead with this tag review and create. Arviv, you asked a question. Park it. Let's do this exercise and then come back before we do the GitHub change tracker. I know you have the question. Just park for the next halt. OK. This one. Let's wait. I think the service bus it's creating, but this one when it is deploying, guys, just if you would like, you come and focus on this one. This operation details is very critical thing where it says that how many seconds it has created to complete this deployment, and apart from that, you will get a flexibility of the template where you can again go back and see what all the parameters which we passed and what templates it is. And if you come back to this one, you know that to create, go to the deployment details, you know that this has been created and how many seconds it took. It took 58 seconds to create it. This is a wealth of knowledge if you want to, just an extra information if you need to tap on this. It created the service bus. And SBQ, that's naming prefix which I have seen. It is service bus queue. So let's create the same naming convention here with this SBQ, a new queue, SBQ, service bus queue for messages V1. Let's default it other things, and we'll create that. Okay, now we have the queues, we have the service bus queue, and we have the service bus. We have the queue also. We see that there are nothing in here. Okay, let's keep it as it is. Let me create a duplicate, and we can come back here and refresh that. Oh, I think I kept this for long. Somewhere in the queue, I think so. Wow. I have a lot of messages now. I didn't know. Huge number of messages are there. So we'll do it at one stretch. When we are executing for this queue, we'll do it for that one also. So let me refresh. Oh, this is service bus queue, isn't it? I'm sorry. It's my mistake. So it's the queue. Let's keep it here. Let's come back and quickly go select this. And first thing what we will do is we'll create one Azure function, which we call it as a HTTP triggered Azure function. So that Azure function will drop a message into the queue. It doesn't do anything else. It just drop a message into this queue. Let's do that. Let's use the same name, write to service bus queue. So let's go ahead and let's create the Azure function and service bus queue. Guys, please, I'm really sorry. Park your questions. We'll stop at one place and then we'll discuss everything. Because for a fraction of a second, I'll get distracted. I'm really sorry if I'm sounding a little harsh, but just wanted to we'll create a new connection. That's the connection which we are taking for this version 1. That's what we created, and we'll select this root key. And what is the queue name? And the queue name which we have seen just now is this one. We'll select this queue name, and then we are sorry. My intention was not this. I have to delete. It's my mistake, guys. I got distracted. Okay. So my intention was HTTP trigger, but I got distracted. Sorry for that. So that's a HTTP trigger, and the name of the HTTP will be write to service bus queue. So we click on that, and then we'll come to this code and test. Okay, right now we have the trigger. So once we have the trigger, we'll select the integration. And for that integration, we have the visual tool, which gives it a control. Okay, so just add this. Okay, so this one I want to write it to service bus queue. No, it's not Azure Queue Storage. It is Azure Service Bus, and the message type and the key and the queue name. The queue name is the one which we have to add it over here and click on OK. So we have the queue name, and let's come back to the code and test. And inside the code and test, let's copy paste, and then we'll discuss what we are doing over here. Let's save this one. This was service bus queue output binding. So we can come back over here. We'll go to the service bus. So here itself, they are giving the triggers. And what if you have an trigger of service bus queue? How should you handle that? What informations you are going to get? And if it is output binding, they have given a detailed instruction. So we did an output binding. So output binding means it will have under the bindings in the function JSON, it will have the name, the type, the queue name, and the connection and the direction. Direction is out. That means we are writing there. So you can come into that function JSON. I think someone asked to speak about this. So after you give this, already we have an output, out direction. So we have a single trigger, and in the out we are splitting it onto the HTTP, it's splitting it onto the console. Apart from that, we are writing it to the service bus message also. So this is the name with which we will identify, and the type is service bus and the queue name. So we can copy this block because that's what we need it as part of our coding. Okay, so I will copy this here. And then what we will do is, let's come back to the index.json. So index.json, in the context, we are getting the body, and what we are telling is the output message, whatever the body which we are getting it, we are passing it here to this one. So what is the name? Output SB message. So output SB message, the request body. So if the request body, whatever we sent apart from the name, everything should come and get sit in the service bus queue. First, let's see that. Name is Azure and age is 21. So I'll just click on send, and let's see if it is able to drop a message in the queue or it is blowing off. So it was able to write a message. So we can come back here and then refresh, and you see that there is one active message. You can see that there is a bump in the request also. So if I come back to this guy and want to give that a shot another time, I post it another message. So I think that Azure messages should be 2. So let me close this and get the function URL. And now I make it like a post body raw application JSON name, and like I'm just calling it as count so that we know that how many times which we are sending it. So we send it through the postman. Okay, it was 1, and I will bump up the count to 2, and I'll bump up the count to 3. So we sent 3 messages from here and 2 messages from the portal. So at least 5 should be there if I'm not wrong. So there are 5 messages. Okay, that's good. We did one part of our exercise. So whatever the HTTP trigger, whatever the logs or something is coming, and the scenario is we want to process further through the messaging instead of direct HTTP response. We want to decouple that and process this one instead of waiting. One web service waiting on another web service is waiting on a third web service, which is waiting on the fourth web service. And if anything is gone. So instead, we want to do an asynchronous processing. So web service A drops a message and it goes back, and web service B picks up and processes it, and again it comes back. That's a different story. I'm building it, but it is part of that. Okay, so what we are doing is now let's create another Azure function which we are calling it as a read from service bus queue. So that means it is a queue triggered one. So how do you know that it is the queue triggered one? We can come into this integration piece, which is a service bus queue triggered one. And what we are doing is the HTTP is writing to the service bus queue. And this, once some message drops into the service bus queue, or do you have an existing message in the service bus queue, this read from the service bus queue triggered function will go pick up those messages from the Azure function, and it is dropping it to the Azure Blob storage. Okay, that's the story. So let's go ahead and create this, and this should be the queue reader. Okay, Azure Service Bus queue triggered. Okay, that's the one, queue triggered, and I'm coming in at the bottom and I'm calling it as a name, and that's the one, and the name of this queue is this. That we will give it over here, and you can click on create, and it okay, that's coming in here. And you can see that Azure Blob Storage is that we want to write it. So we'll come to this integration, add an output. It just reads, it doesn't do anything. I want to do the blob. I just want to keep everything in the default. If want, we can add some nice naming convention to the blob storage. That's it. So if you come in here, and if I'm not wrong, this message should be gone by this time, because the moment you create a Azure Service Bus queue triggered function, that means it starts reading. It does nothing. It would have done the console after reading those. I'm not sure if it is going to split those, or we can go and check over here. Pankaj, you want control?
No, sir. Actually, it was a mistake.
Okay. No problem. See that the moment we created the Azure queue triggered, it goes and reads it. So be extra careful until unless we fully bake. Don't give the exact queue name, because it starts reading that the messages will be gone. See this, before even we click on OK to find out what happened, those messages are gone. So that's the story. And let's come back to this coding piece. Now what we are doing, we are, whenever someone drops a message to the queue, that goes and drops this in the blob storage. So that means if I go and restart this with 1 and send this information, that means what is happening is it is going and hitting the first Azure function. The first Azure function was right to the service bus queue. That means if I come and see this, but there should be an activity. That should be the thing. There is an activity that a new incoming message was there. And if it is not creating, then we need to investigate why it didn't create it. But let's see first. Let's go ahead and do an investigation. Okay, out container. If I come to this out container, we can see that it has created the blob, and this blob is in this Azure storage. So okay, there are a lot of other things which we don't need it. I'll create a duplicate of this. We can go there, because I love this Azure portal tool, which gives an additional facility if it is a blob which you want to read. So let me go to the dashboard. Let me go to the dashboard, and here, and need an extra space, minimize that, and that's over here. And let me go to the containers, and this is a container, and this is a file, and I can pretty much go and click on edit. I can see that the count is 1. Now I can come back to the Postman and I can create 2 and 3 and last record is 4. So we have 4. By the time we come and switch to this, all the 4 queues should have been processed. Not? We'll check why. Okay, that's done. Oh, might be I'm using the same ID. No. That's read from the queue. Let's check this. Okay, it's processing right now. We saw that. See this, the second message. Okay, it just processed only one. So other messages didn't reach that. Okay, internal server. That was my mistake here. Okay, so 4 and 5. So at least these 2 messages should be here. So when I come in here, so those all the messages it has created, and we can come back to the container and do a refresh, and I can pretty much go and see all the records. You can see those contents. That's 4. That's the first other record which we sent it, and I think this is the first one. That's for the 5, and this is 1. And I think, what is this record? Did I create a duplicate one? I'm not sure. Okay, the one which I created from here. I clicked on that one. So all these messages are coming in. So we did that, and now come back real quick to go ahead and do a refresh of this. You're seeing that nice, beautiful thing which it creates it. It says that this particular Azure function is speaking to the Azure table, and this Azure function, it reads it, it drops it to the service bus queue, and also we have a queue reader inside this. So it's reconnecting to this one queue reader, and also we are dropping a message to the blob. The same thing, whatever we are doing over here. Okay, that's 2 things, and this is the read from blob. So what we are doing in this exercise is we are reading from the blob, because HTTP trigger is hitting the Azure function. Azure function is dropping the message to the service bus queue, and there is another Azure function which reads the message from the service bus queue, drops it to the blob. And this is a function chaining, guys, understand. Now what we are doing is, the moment someone drops a message to the blob, we are reading it and writing to the table. Okay, that is this one. So we are calling it as a read from the blob. That is the blob triggered. Let's come back over here. And we select the blob storage trigger and name is this one. And what's the blob name? That's the one. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Okay, that comes as this one. What about the container which we took it? Oh, that is in the next part. This is only this container. Okay, let's come back, and we need to do this little later. I'll park it. Let's go and do, we saw a couple of triggers now. we saw one is the HTTP trigger. That means when someone hits through the browser or through web API or through PowerShell or through Postman or any tool, you are hitting it. That was this one. So for this web API based Azure function, we had an output binding to the service bus queue. So HTTP triggered followed by the output to a service bus queue. And this one was the queue triggered. So whenever someone drops a message to the queue, this Azure function will get triggered. And on the flip side of, not on the flip side, I'm sorry for my sentence. On the other side is the moment we get a message, what we are doing is we are dropping it to the blob storage. Now, how many times I need to go and start clicking all these things? It might be painful, isn't it? So let's do something known as a timer triggered. So what do we need to create a timer triggered Azure function? So now focus this. The previous Azure functions, whatever we created, we went we used the consumption plan. So this one will not work with the consumption plan. This one we definitely need non-consumption plan. Anything apart from the consumption plan will work for this. So I take this Node.js and real quick, I use this EastUS, and the hosting plan, please ensure that it is app service plan as function premium. I'm taking app service plan, and the plan is B1. And in the storage, I want to route everything to the same storage, and in the networking and the monitoring, I want to route it to the same application inside so that everything we can see in one-stop shop. I want to put it there. We'll create it. Okay. So something known as cron expression. To understand, we just definitely need the con expression. So con expression is something like this. It says that 5 dots, 5 stars, and it says that every second, every minute, every hour, every day, and week, something like that. You have to understand this cron expression so that it will be easy for us to go ahead and write this. So we have that Azure function ready. So let's go. The function app is ready. Little extra space, and it should be P3, isn't it? What's the name I've given? Yeah, it's P3. I remember that. Let me refresh it. Okay, here is our guy. So now I don't want to go ahead and write one by one. What if there is a trigger? That's how reality, isn't it? Like you have a IoT device which is monitoring how many vehicles are passing through, or our BP, some kind of health parameters, everything will go in. So things will come that way, or someone is placing the orders like Amazon or Flipkart or big companies. They definitely need this kind of messaging instead of directly going and processing. So let's do this send message to queue. So this is as storage queue. I'm not using the service bus queue. This is the storage queue which I'm using. So let's create that storage queue, and we will see that here in this storage queue here, Azure queue storage. So that's the name which we will create it. So let's go back to this one. This is the one, and let me come into this queue and add a queue. So Azure storage queue, that's the one which we do have. And what else we need? That's a timer triggered function. So I'm storing the name of this function. So let me come here real quick, and we said that which we want to take it as a timer triggered. So I will give the name as this one. So here what we are telling is we are telling that execute it every 5 minutes. We do not have time to wait till 5 minutes. I'll make it like every 5 seconds. So we are the timer triggered, correct. The timer trigger, and the function name is that is send message to a ASQ, Azure Storage Queue. Okay, send message to Azure Storage Queue, and we are saying that every every 5 seconds. You can see that second, minute, hour, day, month, and day of the week. So it's like that. So that's a cron expression. As we have seen that you can understand more on the cron expression. But it is second, minute, hour, day, month, day of the week. So let's go ahead and create this real quick. And that's the one. I can quickly come in here and okay, that's our guy, and you can come and keep this open. It gets connected, and at least it should start displaying this message every 5 seconds. You see that every 5 seconds it is spitting the logs onto the screen. Okay, that's good. So what we will do is we'll come back over here and we'll add the Azure queue storage. That's the queue name. So we need to add the outbound. So output. So that's AQS, Azure queue storage, and that's queue name, Azure queue storage. I just add that. We were at the queue storage, and let me come back to this and go grab the 2 lines of code, but see the declarative manner. If you want to do the same thing in the C#, or any language for the matter of fact, it needs the connection string and maintain all these things. You have to go through a lot of stuff. Here in the declarative manner, they have taken everything off the plate, and all we are doing is use that bindings output queue item dot person. So in the bindings, we already have the output queue item. Let me save this and let's go and see that. In the function.json, you will have all this binding. If you understand the function.json, it says that it's a timer trigger, and we have this and output queue name. That's how we refer this. And this is a queue name. The connection type it has given. The direction is out. In is also we can do it. That I did it in some other project, which I will not be able to showcase in this episode, but definitely will revisit and do some other episode for sure. And let me come back to the queues. Right mouse click on this and refresh, and see here. See that every 5 seconds that is pumping in. So what we can do is, I think here itself I have disabled this Azure function. Now I will enable this, and you can. We already seen that there are tons and tons of messages were there here in the previous episode. I mean, I did this evening so that I can showcase that. Now see that the messages are getting processed because there are huge number of messages. If you see that those things are getting, you can see the timestamp there. See this here, 32 messages of 1200. So see this, it has become 982. See now 792. Now we are 697. See for 697, 538. Now it came to 400. So within a second or two, it is processing around 50 plus messages, if I'm not wrong. See this, now it's gone. So there were 1,000 and odd messages were there. See this now, everything is gone. Now I can quickly come back and go to the previous app insights. So this is the Microsoft Reactors one, and I can go to the previous. I'll come in here. Let's see that application insight. Yeah, this is the one which I already pre-created that. And if you see that application insights, the number of messages which were shooting it up from there, you can see that number of calls and how many calls were there. So everything is getting tracked. I mean, if I switch it off for the past 4 hours, because I was doing this afternoon, so that I can track all those things. You can see every message got processed. See, you have Azure Functions, you're talking to the table, you're talking to Blob storage, you're talking to Azure Queue, you're talking to service bus. Everything through declarative manner. Okay, let's come back to our story now. So we had two Azure functions. So one function is what now we are pumping in the data. Now let it be, because by the time we come into this one, let me close everything so that we can focus, close all. Let's come and see how many messages. Right now it is 45 messages are there. Let it pump in. By the time we write the Azure function, let it start pumping in the messages. Right. So let's come back to here. And in this Azure function, we have read from the queue. So let's take this read from ASQ, Azure storage queue. So one, we are sending in using the timer, we are sending in a lot of messages to that. Now that we need to read it from Azure storage triggered queue. And I'll come in here and drop this. I call it as Azure storage queue. And what is the queue name? Let me go to the properties. That and paste it over here. Okay, so let's click on create. That will create this. Okay, we are here. And let's come back to the integration where we have to we are reading the messages from the queue, and then we are storing it to the blob storage. So inside the blob storage, we are using the same container. Two containers I'm using. One container I used it for the previous experiment. I'm sorry, it's not the same container. It's two different containers if I'm not wrong. Yeah, one was out container which we used it for HTTP. This is for Azure Storage Queue out container. So let's use the same name for this. So it will be easy for us to go ahead and understand. Let's go ahead and do the output blob storage, and that's an output blob. And this is where we are saying that instead of out container, put it to ASQ Azure storage out container. And I click on OK. And let's come back over here. And then, because as I was mentioning, we will lose the messages. We need to be a little quicker. If not, we would have lost all those messages. Or I can disable this for 5 to 10 minutes while we are doing a discussion after this. Then we'll come back and do the GitHub change tracker. Let me save this and see, do we have any messages in the queue? If yes, good. If not, by this time, everything, all the messages could have gone out of this. Yeah, see, at least we have one message. We are lucky. Okay, that's also it's gone out of. So it's reading, and we can come here to the containers, select it and refresh. And there you go. We have our container. So that guy has got this. So what I'll do is, while we are taking up the queries, I will go to this Azure, read from Azure Storage Queue, and I'll disable this for a few minutes. So until we take up those queries before we do the GitHub change tracker exercise, I will pause here so that we can take up few queries and discuss. I'll see what best I can answer. What happened to this queue? It's not running. Which one did I stop? Okay, this is read from queue and send message to the queue. This is on. Yeah, that's on. Okay, it's pumping it. Cool. That's good. So let me close. Yes, guys. So any queries? So this Kudu Console is a deployment tool. Aribu, just watch the videos which I have given. Rashmita will ping the URL for those recorded videos. Just watch that, where I discussed a lot of details on this Kudu Console. Okay, and how would you like to differentiate between the service bus queue, event hub? It was like a generic query. Maybe I didn't understand. Could you please rephrase your query? Jyotish? Hello? Hello, Jyotish? Okay. Any other queries? Any queries, guys?
Yeah, yeah, Swami. Actually,
Yeah, Riva.
I have one doubt on this bindings and then related to different type of functions. Yeah. Say for example, initially you created a Azure Service Bus trigger function. Yeah. After
Yeah.
that, on top of that, you did like you created a HTTP trigger and then added the input binding for that.
Oh, I just
So
created a
same.
resource.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just created a Azure Service Bus resource and I created a queue. So those resources should exist. First, I did that. Then what did I do is I created a HTTP trigger. I could have done the timer trigger also, but or any trigger for that matter of fact. So if it is HTTP trigger, someone gives me a message like you're placing an order for 2 t-shirts and I can't put that call this Arrow is asking for 2 t-shirts. Can you process? If the payment gateway is taking 10 seconds and there are 2-3 layers in between, each of them are taking 2 seconds. So 10 plus 3 into 2, 6. 16 seconds you have to watch the screen and wait. So what we do is we drop it to the message and mention that your order has been taken. And if the payment is declined or for whatever the reason, again, they will come and update, isn't it? Amazon or Flipkart, they'll say that you need to revise the payment or this you need to rebook this, whatever it comes. So what happens is you need to have a resource. So that to that resource, let's assume this is a service bus queue. So if it is a HTTP trigger, in this case, someone is placing an order through their web application. So in this HTTP trigger, it comes, you're dropping a message. And let's assume that it is a timer trigger. Let's assume it's a batch processing. So something it is processing, there are 1,000 records. We have seen in our case, there were 12 or 1,300 plus of messages in the queue and we started processing. So in that kind of scenario where we bring the information from one location and drop it to another location. Maybe it's an Azure storage queue. We are taking the information from there and dropping it in the Azure service bus queue. That's a second kind of thing. It's a queue. It's a event triggered. I'm calling it as an event triggered. Maybe it's an Azure queue storage, or we are reading it from the Cosmos, or whatever it is. It's a event triggered kind of thing. And another is timer trigger. Let's assume that every 2 seconds, like IoT device, that's dropping a message to the service bus queue. In any of this scenario, we are dropping the message to the queue. Now, what is your query, Ariva?
So it is we have different types of bindings, correct?
Right.
It's like
Input
Cosmos DB,
bindings.
input bindings.
Okay, so yeah, I will flash this so that it will be easy for uh, everyone to understand what we are discussing. So these are a couple of few bindings which we have. I'm flashing it here on the left side, triggers and bindings. Go ahead, Ariva.
Yeah, so we have different types of binding. It is a similar like a different types of event triggers, correct?
Exactly. No.
So outside,
Bindings is the location. Whether you are
yeah.
getting whether you are getting it from the uh, Kafka or what is your source. Trigger is
Mm-hmm.
different. Trigger is different. Trigger is the one which makes our function execute. F- Trigger is the one which makes our function execute. Okay,
Yeah.
and bindings is that from where you are getting the information, whether it is an input binding or whether it is a output binding. So
Yeah.
input binding
So
is we are getting it. Yeah, go ahead.
what I see is I see a same set of data set across both. If I see the bindings and then if I see the type of different event triggers, yeah, for a function, I see
Okay.
same set of data sets. So why to have, that's what I thought. Say for example, outside we are giving a service bus trigger and inside binding also we can give the same, right?
It depends upon who you are, what action you are doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume that you are a web API. You're not at all Azure
Mm-hmm.
function. You are a web
Mm-hmm.
API.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening is the web application. Let's assume the same Amazon. You're placing two T-shirts from Amazon. So it's a web API. It is dropping a message to the queue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're doing a triggered function. That means if someone drops a message to the queue, I will start my work. So in that case, this Azure function will get executed only when someone drops a message in the queue. So
Yeah.
that's when you need the triggers. So there
Mm-hmm.
should be some mechanism which should ignite or make our function execute. That's one example. And bindings. Bindings is another scenario where once let's assume that HTTP trigger itself is binding. Let's assume you're asking to go and read a record from the Cosmos DB. Read a record from the Cosmos DB. In that case, what will happen is if you see this Azure Cosmos DB. So what will happen is when someone is API, when an Azure API drops a message saying that get me this particular record. So here the function is getting triggered through HTTP. But what you need to do, you need to go and read the information from the Cosmos DB. But they have given you the GUID. So what you do is you will write the input binding. So if you do it, if you do that, you see this. Maybe the queue triggered. They will ask, hey, give me the record of this. So you're getting the queue triggered, and what you're doing is you're saying that, hey, from this database, from this items collection, using this connection string, get me this. Got it?
Yeah, yeah, I got that.
Right. So
Intention.
each has got a separate reason.
Okay. Why
Right?
can't we have multiple trigger for functions? Any intention for that?
Oh, I am really not sure about that. I'm assuming, I don't want to speculate. I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming there could be some. Um, I don't know. Seriously, I don't want to
Yeah, yeah.
speculate and
My
answer something.
hypothetical question I feel.
Yeah, I don't want to get badly beaten to death. I'm going and architects will come and beat me to death. They said, if you
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
please, why don't you keep quiet? My dead body is on the crossroads because I did something wrong. Because I seriously don't know. There could be some good reason, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
when
yeah.
they are allowing multiple
Type
binding,
of triggers. Yeah.
yeah, multiple types of bindings. They're saying that you can add one or more input bindings, you can
Yeah.
add one or more output bindings. So I'm really not sure why is that restriction that only single trigger. Maybe I forgot,
Yeah.
I read it somewhere, but I don't remember on top of my mind. So
Okay,
it
fine.
allows only one. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Thank you.
more queries? Hello.
Swami, I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
It's not a query. It's just a question. Sorry, it's a request. Maybe in future, if you have something like that. Are you planning to have any session or in this session, like attaching the function to API management and trying to trigger from external source so that we can execute the function?
Oh yeah, that is pretty much it is there.
Okay.
Let me share my screen. Please join the AZ204 series. Okay. So right now we have completed session 5. So
Okay.
Dockerized one is session 6, and the two mini projects whatever I'm discussing, it might be a little bit length. I'll discuss on 8th December, and one
Okay.
more is on 15th or 18th December. I don't have the dates properly, but by December ending, these two things are there. And somewhere here, like durable functions, and around here, I'm going to show this kind of big picture where I was showing API management, and you have the API behind that as well as Azure Functions, because we will not leave Azure Functions to while until unless it is publicly available content which you want to spit it outside. We don't generally do it, but this is definitely will come somewhere around on the 12th or 13th episode in our AZ204 series. So I showed that Microsoft reactors. Go to this Microsoft reactors this thing, and
Yeah, sure.
you will find here. Okay, so
And
we just started. You can watch the videos and you can
okay.
patch up from 6.
Okay. Okay. And I think we can have multiple outbound output
Yep,
bindings
output
with
band. That's correct.
yeah, only a single input binding because it's an event
Single
based trigger.
trigger. Single trigger.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's it. Thank you.
He could have definitely told that why is that single trigger? Maybe I didn't read it properly. It could be somewhere here. I don't know. It should come out the concept here itself. Let's spend 1 quick minute, not more. Okay, one trigger. Must have exactly one trigger. Okay, I will see that. That's a good question, Ariva. I'll definitely get back to you. I think I can locate you somewhere in my social media. Cool. So let's go to the another final, a small uh, Azure function. We can do it real quick. So that's like GitHub change tracker. So what is this GitHub change tracker is? If you go to any of your GitHub source code, what you can do is you can come to the settings and click on webhooks, and wherever you have the hooks, you can go ahead and patch it up. So right now I have a webhook to an already created Azure function. We'll create it right now. It's not a big deal. It's a small thing. Actually, my intention and the steps to create it was through uh, Azure core tools, but lack of time, we only have 10-15 minutes. I think I will not be able to showcase that. You can please patch up on my AZ204 series where the same content I'm doing in 2 sessions. So we can cover in length on that one. Okay. So let's do a quick way to do is we already have this guy. Let's do it here itself just to save the time. And we will call this as a GitHub tracker. This is just a simple HTTP triggered function. It doesn't do anything except it has got a output binding. That's a simple HTTP trigger. That means whenever someone goes and modifies your GitHub repository, you can write this kind of webhooks and ask GitHub to send this information. Someone would have done a fork on your project, or someone would have given a thumbs up, or someone would have modified, added a file or deleted a file. So see this here, we have multiple bindings. One is output binding, one is to HTTP. It spits on the console as well as it's write to the table binding. Let's replicate this real quick. Here, I will go and add this. It's an HTTP triggered one. I'm calling it as GitHub change tracker, and I'm creating it. And let's do the table binding, and I'll get this table change tracker. So let's come back and see real quick inside our tables. Right mouse click and refresh. We do not have that table. So let's come back here, go to this integration. And inside this integration, I'm clicking on now add output, and I want to write it to the Azure table storage, and the table name is this one, and click on add. So it adds this one, and here is this. Let's quickly get this code and paste there, and let's see things in action. So we got this, and let me copy paste it here, and then we'll discuss. So here is the HTTP triggered function. We are getting the full name and GitHub notification body, and we are getting the table bindings, and this partition key ensure that this is unique. So the owner name or the guy who's modifying, but ensure that each of the modification or each of the input which you get it as part of the webhook, ensure that this partition key is unique. Okay, so how to find out? We can go back, write a webhook, and initially it will fail. That is good thing. Once it fails, we can come back and see that what is the payload it is sending, and try to do different modifications, and then find out what is the thing which is unique. Like if in our case, I took it as this one, GitHub notification. That means this entire payload, and inside that repository dot owner, inside the payload repository dot owner dot name. So that means any user, all the changes which I did it will get into one partition. Just ensure that you are having that thing. And Roki is, as I told, that I did a straight lift from Stack Overflow. This is the function I am using it here. And apart from that, few of the information like full name, something, and what got added, what got removed, these kind of information. So what we can do is we can test this run. It failed. Let me copy this, paste it here, and click on run. So we are simulating what if someone modified something, then it executes here. So we'll see this, and then we'll do real thing from the GitHub itself. So we simulated that. So what happened to that? No, it completed. Did we miss this? Yeah, we have it here. Let me check that. What is the Azure storage table? That table, and yeah, table name is git code changes. Did it go and sit here? No, it can't. Can't go and sit there. No, it will not come yet for sure. Let me do a full refresh. Let me check that. Sometimes it takes time, but that's not. Oh, let's see that for a moment. Let's check that. We have 5 more minutes. We have table binding. We sent this information. Okay, we get a proper inputs. It will. Okay, no problem. Anyways, we'll do it live. I'm copying the URL of our Azure function, and I will keep this logs open so that we'll send it some information. I come to this settings. So this is the Azure function. The existing link is this one, the webhook URL. It was 003. Now we are changing it to P3, the one which we created just now. I am changing it from 003 to P3, and the content type is application JSON. SSL verification is this one. And instead of push just the event, I'm selecting what I want. I want to focus only on the commit comments and as well as the pushes. So this is the only thing which I want to do. I just clicked on update that, it updated. So I'm coming back to the code, and what I'm doing is I am going and modifying live change. Okay, I did that, and I did that. I mean, actually, it would have been good if I would have done reactor, and I'm committing these changes. Once that is committed, we can come and verify here in our webhooks, and this shows green. That means the previous execution was success, and we can go to the recent deliveries. There you can see that recent delivery it made at 10:28, just a minute or so, and you can see that it hit that dev p03, and we can come back here. That logs is already there. It has come in here, and let's go and see if it is creating that table. Oh God, I don't know, something is missing, but net that table should be available. What kind of binding did I do? It says that it is. Let me check. Just guys, give me a minute. Now it is 8:28. We'll complete and table storage is that output table and git code changes. That's output table. And let's check this. Ah, there you go. The spelling mistake. The function, I can come to the function JSON. So here the name of this is what we should use. So I did a copy paste. It was the table binding. So it should be this output table. That's a problem with the copy paste. Okay, so we can come back to test and run. We'll use the same payload which it sent it. I will go and get the same payload and change tracker. Just click on run. So it says that there you go. Code change tracker. So let's come back to the GitHub repository, we can do the live change. I'm going to the code, and this was the hello world text. I selected this file and I go, can't I delete this? Okay, it's here. Delete this file. Yes. I go ahead and delete this. Commit those changes. Come back here and do a refresh. You can see that block over here. So removed is this file. We modified it. Let's add a file also. So that way, create a new file. World.txt. New world. And I'm doing a create. Again, I'll come back over here. You can see that. So we modified it, we removed it, we added it. So everything we can track. I mean, there are a lot of things, tons and tons of things are there. Like what you want to track is pretty much an important thing. But you have, there can be a lot of options. I mean, you need to dig deeper. What if someone raised the pull request? Someone, new pull request review comment, someone commented on that. And its reviews, releases, repositories. I mean, someone did a star to you, and someone used your repository, put it in the watch, and someone gave a thumbs up. How many forks were there? Everything. Okay. So that's it from my side, guys, and thank you so much for joining. As I was mentioning, please go to that Microsoft Reactor Bangalore and see that AZ204 series, and Rashmita will give you the link of the videos. Go and watch the previous videos and come to those future sessions. 15 plus sessions will be there. We just started, completed only 5. If you see that less than 25% of the sessions are done, there are 75% more. And someone, I think Prabjot, you asked about learning of that one. Just follow this series. You will learn a lot. And let's give Rashmita to take a decision on the workshop, because this is a year end and already slots would have been blocked. If not, we'll definitely do something in the Jan. But if it is possible between December, we can do it. But again, I don't want to trouble. It's a holiday time, right from Thanksgiving to New Year. So let's see how best it is. Any queries, folks? Thanks, Adik.
Yeah, Swami, it's a nice session, Swami. Thank you very much for great info.
Thanks so much. All my sessions will be like this.
Yeah, actually,
24/7.
I have interacted other sessions as well in YouTube as well, but it is something different. As they are explained in a very simple manner, but it is like a real time experience. I think so. Thank you so much, Swami.
Yeah, because why did I start these sessions is, if you Google it, you'll get a lot of content. So I thought that I'll take the same content, I'll show it practically. That's the only thing. Because you
Thank you.
see that I read it from someone else. It's not my own brain. I'm stealing from someone else. So yeah, cool. I think you guys have voted for lab
Workshop. Yeah,
workshop,
workshop.
and
Yes.
let Rashmita take the call, because this is year end. So
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
So,
Swami, shall I share my screen? Why I am not getting those one option? Is it right time?
I
Just
I
5 minutes.
I I will I will ping you my.
Separately.
Can you ping me on that Twitter message? I'll
Wait,
give you my email at Twitter.
where it is?
My Twitter ID, Vishupalur.
Where it is? I have not seen.
1 second. I'll
Could
give
you
you
please
right away.
ping me in chat?
I'll put it right away.
Okay.
Okay.
Or else give me the Teams as well. Teams ID. No issue.
No, but I'll give you the Teams ID. This is my Twitter. So
Okay.
that's the Twitter ID. That's my Twitter ID. So Vishupalur, just ping me, drop a message there. I will give you my Gmail account. then we can
Okay.
have a G meet. I don't want
Sure,
others
sure.
to.
No, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, others to disturb. Why?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Great,
Cool,
great.
cool. Any other
Yeah,
things? Pawan Reddy.
thank you. Thank you, Swami Ranga here. It's a great
Yeah.
session.
Thanks so much.
Looking forward to multiple sessions.
There are a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Every fortnight there is,
Thank you.
and on and off I'll do other sessions here. So it's you people liking it. It encourages me to do more. Pawan, anything from your side, Pawan? Kapil Dev, SA,
Sir, a quick
Arivagan.
question.
Yes, Pawan, go ahead.
So, are you trying to consider like C# as a medium in future, or is it like you're comfortable with the Node.js?
Actually,
Because Azure is
yeah.
more flexible towards C#, and I could see few documentation saying
You
like
see, you
no, in
see.
terms of this Azure related development.
Yeah, exactly. You see that. All this is my GitHub repository. You go this. I do tons and tons of things like this is .NET 6, and I did recently. I did one session 2 days ago, and that was like how do you create this one everything in .NET 6 and Visual Studio 2020. So you have Web API, Visual Studio 2020, and there's a SQL Azure Key Vault, but the coding is C# and
Yeah.
.NET 6. That is latest. So all my coding will be in .NET 6 or latest framework. Okay.
Because
And
today in session I could see
today
Node.js, so
it's a different.
so
Uh,
hence the question.
no problem, because that is fine. Because if you see that the thing which I was about to discuss, the Blazor WASM, that will be in .NET 6, and Azure function that will be in .NET 6. I know that I do not have that much time, but I created and kept it ready to showcase it. Basically, I am a learner, as I was mentioning. I'm a quick learner, so I play around multiple languages. Okay,
Can you
majorly
pay?
C#.
Is it possible you can share that GitHub project with us? Is it okay?
It's open source. I put it here. Anything you want, you take it from there.
Okay. I
And
just wanted to ask. Yeah.
I am the most happiest person if someone is using, and ensure that you are fixing the bugs on your own.
Sure.
Okay. That's anything you want, you can pick it up from there. Cool. Kapil Dev, anything from you real quick?
No, sir. That was a nice session, and I enjoyed it a lot. And but actually, I have started like Azure experience from last couple of weeks, so it's all new for me. So I'm going to like get some free account and set up all this thing by myself, and awaiting for your next session that you're going to like
Sure. My personal
where we.
suggestion. My personal
Sorry,
suggestion. My personal suggestion, Kapil. How
yeah,
do you go by Kapil or Kapil Dev or just Dev?
it's Kapil. Kapil is
Okay, Kapil.
yeah.
That's your first name. Thanks. Kapil, what I'll tell is just go through the previous 5 videos,
Okay,
and future 15 plus videos are going to come. First, you
okay,
go through the theoretical. What happens is if you create a free Azure account, you have $200 and you have
mhm,
very less time. That
yeah,
$200 will get burned in 30 days,
right.
and it might not benefit. I mean, if you are putting in those many hours to burn those $200, it's well and good. But what I suggest is first do a theoretical preparation thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Then you are very ready with all those concepts, and you have a mental map. What all the things I need to do that. Use a pricing calculator. Do a mental map. Make everything in
Right.
black and white. That's when create an Azure account and create all these experiments in a shot.
Okay. Okay.
And you
Yeah.
should have a
That's
30 days very strict training plan for that, hands on.
yeah.
Because the
Right.
moment you create $200 and you don't utilize it properly, that means
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're losing it. You're losing the benefit or a privilege, isn't it?
Right.
So, paisa vasool kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I speak
Yeah.
six
Okay. Yeah.
languages, so I switch
Yeah.
between
Thank you,
different
Swami. I'll
languages.
follow your instruction. Whatever you say.
Please, that's my personal suggestion, Kapil,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that.
I
Thank
saw we cry blood tears once we create Azure account and project tasks are there. We do it for 2 days and we lose it 28 days, and then we realized that we.
So that's all experience.
Yeah, I'm telling from my own experience. No matter what, if you start that, you need to work for 30 days and use complete Azure credits, and you are gaining experiences. Then you know that where you can apply. ठीक है?
ठीक है,
चलो.
ठीक है. Okay.
Sunil Kumar, Satyam, Pavan, I ask. Anyone else, guys? I see only these names on the floor. Let's make it real quick. Satyam, do you have anything? Sunil, do you have anything? Okay. Akshar.
No, thank you, Swami.
Okay, cool. Anis, Anis Siddiq, Chiti Babu, Jansi Reddy, Krishna. I don't know, Sanjeev Reddy. That's the first name I assume. Pallab. I think Pallab, you spoke to me in the previous session somewhere. I remember. And Rajesh, Shreya, I think she spoke. Siddhant, Siddiq, I think we spoke. Shiva and Sunil. Anyone who has got anything else?
Shiva here. I missed a few classes, Swami. I'll come back, check, and go to the recordings and get back to you if any doubts and all.
Please do that, because what we are doing is you go through the session, you see that how deep dives we are doing in those sessions. So the intention is to gain the knowledge. Whether it's taking time, that's a different story. But at least if you do 15 session, a gap between a session and a session, 15 days, you guys will get a time to go practice. If you have credits from your Visual Studio existing subscription, $3,000 if it is, sorry, 3,000 rupees if it is professional. Okay. So
Sure.
anyone else?
Yeah.
Cool. Please feel free to ping me if you have any queries.
Swami, I have last question. It's not a question, but
Go
yeah,
ahead.
just are we also considering the design patterns in the following sessions, which you are? Is it like just only using the services of Azure?
Oh, it will come. I think I will take a real quick minute here. Is my screen still in share?
Yes.
It is, isn't it? Okay, cool. So what we are doing is, we started once this was the first session.
Okay.
And then in the second session, we added Web API and SQL Server. Then we added 2 virtual machines.
Okay.
And then we deployed IIS and deployed a web application in a virtual machine. And then here we did an Angular 13. Actually, I forgot to update this. This was Angular 13. And the API is .NET 6. All latest shiny trendy technologies. Okay. This is .NET 6 Visual Studio 2022. And this is .NET 6, Angular 13. All latest trendy shiny. Blazor and React is going to come. I think your kid is crying. Okay, and then we'll go and along the way, when we are coming with the topics, like when it comes to Azure API management, we'll include that. When it comes to Redis cache topic from AZ20, we'll include that to some decent extent. Now Azure Key Vault, now Blob storage, the queue storage, service bus queue, event hubs, all those topics which are coming from the AZ20 series, that will come to a decent extent. And regarding the design patterns and other things, that will be a separate series, Pavan. I mean, right now what we are doing is we are doing similar to a music director is trying all instruments in the same song. Whether that is apt or not, we don't know. But we are using every service, whatever we are learning, we are to some extent. At least we should know, isn't it? Suppose if I teach you what is Web API, how to create it, you will say that that's fine, Swami. What should I do with this? Until if I don't show how do you integrate this Web API with Blazor WASM or Angular or React or a console application or with the PowerShell or with the curl or with the Postman, if I teach you what is Web API, it's of no use. I need to show a bigger picture of that. So that's what my exercise in this AZ204 series, but it might go till June 2022 to cover all the, it's a huge topic, isn't it? AZ204 certification. So we will cover everything in a decent extent. And after that, June, I'll see based on you people can hit me on Twitter and say that. So I will first prepare myself before I go on a tech talk. What can we do that? I just started working on that one. But on top of that, realistically, if you think whether do we need that design pattern or not is the first question. That's all a different topic we have to discuss hours together for sure. Because it's like whether you need a small knife or a big knife.
No, actually, few services have the constraint of message size. So, because
You
when we are
talked about that.
discussing about,
Understood. Okay, that we will
yeah,
definitely.
so because
That
if that's the constraint, then we have to obviously, before using it, at least we have to see like
okay,
the
such.
initial.
I agree. I agree. You can ping me on this one, Twitter. We can discuss, and I'll give you my phone number. You can talk.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Sure, sir.
So
Yeah, thank you.
anyone has anything which I think if I'm able to answer, I'll answer. If not, I'll read and come back to you on that for sure. Okay. Chalo then. Anyone else? Final. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swami, just now I tweet you. Did you get the tweets? And did you open the Twitter?
I will check.
That's Ketira 37. That is my
Nah,
Gmail.
okay. Just ping me here in this message. For some reason, this is not showing me since this morning.
Achha.
Okay. Just do that. I think just drop a direct message. I'll get it here.
Yeah. Just I'm giving this my Gmail number. Can I give in chat?
Put it here. I'll put it here. Let's take it in that
Yeah.
sense.
I put in the chat. Just copy from KTR 37. KTR Evora 37.
Sure. I'll take.
Just copy that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Koteshwara.
Yeah. That is my Gmail. Just Google Meet. If
I'll,
possible today or tomorrow, if anytime, no issue.
let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow.
Sure. Tomorrow, second half.
Sure. Someone else was speaking. Any queries?
Swami, it is me, Shreya.
Shreya, go ahead, Shreya.
Actually, you mentioned those 4 sessions, right? So in that, the Dory one and I'm just getting a bit confused. Like, could you just show me that list which I've missed previously? Because Dory thing, there was one session. It is under React or Reactor or like excluding that?
Madam, everything is in under React. If you go, I've given this link, isn't it? Developer.microsoft.com Reactor
Yes.
event series AZ204. So if you see that, this is the first session. App service, web apps, and .NET 5, Azure SQL connection strings, and PowerShell, Azure CLI, ARM, and deploying Razor app into this one. And some of the pieces I'm putting in the backfill because I don't have that much time to cover in one and a half 20 minutes. And I have my own list which I'm maintaining, which I will include in the previous session. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like we did this diagnostics app, Kudu Console custom domains, and here is the one where we discussed in length on the Kudu Console. Arivaigan, it's for you. You can check this episode specifically. We did a deep dive into that, understood a lot of things on that. Just you can directly go here. But I would suggest please watch these previous 5 videos before jumping on to 24th November, this containerized apps, because these all are connecting dots. Because each, as you have seen, that we are building on top of the previous session. Because if you we went and deployed the application in Azure app service. Then we deployed it in the virtual machine here. Then in the previous episode, that's when I compared that how painful it is for you to go and do all these things, and how this Microsoft is making our lives easy. On click of 2 buttons, it went and created a website and did all this configuration. If you watch this entire almost 1 hour, we configure all these things. We configure this virtual machine, IIS, and create the website and do the deployment. All this painful thing, whatever we went through, that they made it easy and couple of few buttons clicks. They are doing everything behind the scene. So once you compare these 2 episodes, you'll know that how the things are, how many ways you can do. And then you can make a decision whether to go ahead with the virtual machine or with the app service. A lot of things. I mean,
but it starts from scratch every session, correct?
yes, every session starts from scratch, but it has got its own agenda. It has got its own agenda, but
Yeah,
the
yeah. But
previous
certain classes connecting dot, maybe the continuity from the previous session probably.
it might, like if you see the Kudu console, Arivagan has asked a query, but I said that it's a different topic. You go and get it from there. So
Perfect.
yeah, please feel free to follow that. Cool. Anyone else? Shreya, your query has been answered.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Jansi Reddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Swami, for the please share the link for the previous.
Sadiq.
Yes, Swami.
Siddiq, I think I posted it, but anyways, I'm giving you another time. This one. Okay. That's the one. Siddiq, you got it?
Yes, Swami.
Perfect. Perfect. Anyone else? Shiva, Sunil, everyone. Nothing. Anyways, I'll copy Koteshwara's. Chalo, I copied. Anyone else? Okay. I think Rashmita?
Yes, Swami.
I think there are no more queries.